Confidence and courage go hand in hand because it takes courage to be confident. It takes courage to go after something that scares you. I really need you to believe that you have what it takes to access your upgrade, to access that next level of living that you have been desiring for years. It's time for you to get laser focused on creating a better life for you, a better life for your family. You got to minimize your distractions and focus on the resources, the skills, and the abilities that you have available to you right now. I know that you desire more, but use what you got right now. Leverage what you have instead of focusing on what you don't have. It's time for you to build your dream life. Listen, access has been granted. I gotta say that again. Access has been granted. You just have to keep your eyes on the prize instead of on your problems. Your problems are a distraction. Your problems don't deserve your focus. Focus on what you do want, not on what you don't want. Why are you doubting? Why are you hesitating? Open doors are waiting for you. God's promise for you still stands. There will always be conflicting voices, one telling you that you can do it, and the other one telling you that you can't. You just have to choose to listen to the voice of truth. You gotta lean into your future you. This mission is no different than the ones you've already completed. Yes, what you're going after right now might be challenging, but you must stay committed to your pursuit. Every level is going to consist of a greater challenge, but it's also going to consist of a greater reward. You've got to be willing to pay the price. You've got to be willing to stay in that tough battle until you leave with what you came to get. Do you want more abundance in your life? Do you want more time freedom? Do you want to be healthier in your mind and in your body? So this is what you've got to understand. Confidence and courage go hand in hand because it takes courage to be confident. It takes courage to go after something that scares you. I really need you to believe that you have what it takes to access your upgrade, to access that next level of living that you have been desiring for years. It's time for you to get laser focused on creating a better life for you, a better life for your family. You got to minimize your distractions and focus on the resources, the skills, and the abilities that you have available to you right now. I know that you desire more, but use what you got right now. Leverage what you have instead of focusing on what you don't have. It's time for you to build your dream life. Listen, access has been granted. I gotta say that again. Access has been granted. You just have to keep your eyes on the prize instead of on your problems. Your problems are a distraction. Your problems don't deserve your focus. Focus on what you do want, not on what you don't want. Let's go. How often do you force yourself to be consistent? How often do you force yourself to be consistent? Right? I'm not talking about the person who is consistent easily. Like every day, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're doing what you said you were gonna do. I'm talking about the people who get tired. I'm talking about the people who get frustrated. I'm talking about the people who get overwhelmed. I'm talking about the people who get so disappointed that they don't want to do nothing. because I get there sometimes. And so, although I love to motivate, I love to equip, I love to teach, like there are some days I don't want to create content. There are some days I don't want to do a video. I'm a teacher, I'm a professor. There are some days I don't want to grade papers. Like, can I be real with y'all? And so the truth is, people who are successful, they are successful really because they force themselves to be consistent. They stick to their goals even when they're not feeling their best. If they said they were going to get up and work out, they do it. If they say they were going to make 10 calls, they do it. If they say they were going to send 10 emails, they do it. Even when they don't feel like it. And what throws a lot of people off is their performance depends on how they feel. They get up if they feel like it. Like it sucks to fall down. It sucks to give your all and not get the results you want. But in order to get to where you desire to be, you've got to be willing to fall down and get up every time. You've got to be willing to do it over and over and over again. You've got to be willing to go away for a little bit and get your energy up, get your mind right, build your skill set. Like, you can't just say, I failed and that's it. You've got to be willing to take whatever you consider. You might consider that a loss, but you got to be willing to take that result that you got, that result that you despise, and you got to be willing to do something with it. you got to be willing to do something with it. You can't just sit there and say, this is it. This is not it. Sometimes you're rejected because God is preparing you for something bigger. He's preparing you for something greater. You're being equipped. You're building your stamina. You're building your knowledge base. You're building your skill set, your expertise. And so you're not supposed to stay there, but maybe you're supposed to slow down and get clear. Maybe you're supposed to release some things, release some people, release some behaviors, release some habits, release some thoughts that you've been thinking. Maybe it's time for you to step into a new level of growth, a new level of commitment for yourself, a new level of commitment to your goals. Maybe it's time out for you getting offended so easily. Oh gosh, who am I talking to? Because sometimes it's your offense that stops you from moving forward. And I've gotten to the place where I'm aware of when I'm offended. And what I used to do is I would be aware that I was offended, but I would immediately justify it. Like, yeah, they did this to me. Like, yeah, I deserve to be upset right now. Like, yeah, that was where I was. And so now I try to figure out, why was I so offended? And what can I do to mitigate this? Because I don't want to allow this to throw my entire day off. I don't want to allow this offense to steal my peace, to rob me of my joy, to rob me of the happiness that I fought so hard to get to. And so you got to get to a place where you guard your peace, you guard your happiness, right? You protect your time, and you're not allowing people to get you off course. You're not being distracted by what is going on around you. There's so much noise going around right now. There's so much negativity going around right now, and you got to protect your mindset. You got to protect the goal that you set for yourself. And you engaging in meaningless battles, that's not going to get you to where you're trying to go. And so it is going to be up to you to make the commitment to stand firm on what you said you were going to do. You might not feel like it. But you got to be intentional. You've got to be intentional about forcing yourself to remain committed, forcing yourself to remain consistent, doing it day after day after day after day, even when you're not seeing what you want to see. Because if you do it long enough, you're going to eventually get a yes. You're going to eventually get the results you desire. And so a lot of people, they miss the mark because they give up too soon. And sometimes when you feel that strongest urge to quit, when you're like more frustrated than you've ever been, that is the time for you to really go hard. That's the time, because what happens is you start to have a pity party and then your productivity plummets. It goes down because of how you feel, because of the energy that you are bringing. And so the only thing that is standing between you and your goals is commitment, determination, and belief. Like, you gotta be committed. You gotta be committed to finishing what you started. You gotta be determined to get what it is that you desire. Even if you're not seeing what you wanna see right now, you cannot allow that to send you into a place where you are no longer going after your goals. And then you gotta be confident. You got to believe. You've got to believe that you have what it takes, even if you're not seeing what you want. And sometimes people get hung up on what they see in front of them, but they're not realizing that sometimes your breakthrough and your blessing is far ahead of what you can even see with your eyes. And you've just got to be willing to trust that if you keep showing up, you're going to get your yes. If you keep showing up, you're going to get the job. If you keep showing up, you're going to get the contract. If you keep showing up, you're going to get that thing that you've been praying for, that thing that you desire. You just got to stay committed. You've got to restructure the way that you think. You've got to restructure the way that you're talking to yourself. You've got to encourage yourself. You've got to build yourself up instead of tearing yourself down. You've got to declutter your mind so that you can think clearly. So we all have a variety of thoughts that pass through our minds, but we get to choose whether or not we're going to allow that thought to pass through, or if we're going to give that thought permission to park. And so when you replay an unpleasant experience in your mind over and over again, you are giving that thought permission to park. When you replay negative thoughts to yourself over and over and over again, you are coming into agreement with that thought. And so thoughts can pop up, but you have the power to block it. You have the power to say, this is not true. This is inaccurate. This is not me. Because your mind is going to always attempt to make your situation seem much worse than it actually is. And so this is why you have to always evaluate whether or not your thought is accurate or inaccurate. Like, is this thought serving me or not? Is this thought helping me to feel better, or is it making me feel worse? And so when you make that decision, then you got to make another decision. Am I going to cut this off right now? Or am I going to allow this thought to continue to ruminate? Am I going to allow this thought to continue to cause me to be stressed, to continue to cause me to be disappointed, to continue to cause me to worry? That's in your hands. So the thoughts are going to come, but it's going to be up to you to decide how you are going to handle that thought. So you might feel like your vision is far-fetched, like your dream is far-fetched. You might feel that way because you've never experienced it, right? Maybe you've never experienced living in abundance. Maybe you've never experienced having a really good, healthy marriage, a healthy relationship, someone who loves you and pours into you, someone who reciprocates. Maybe you haven't had it, but because you haven't had it doesn't mean that you can't have it. And so you've got to position yourself. This might mean you got to let some stuff go because you're holding on to the stuff that's hurting you and it's time to release it. You're holding on to some stuff that's keeping you stuck and it's time to release it so that you can move forward. You got to be willing to endure the rough patches, right? Sometimes you got to be willing to be alone for a little while so that you can get that person that you've been praying to come into your life. But you're repelling that person because you're trying to hold on to something that it's time for you to release. You might have a position that you're wanting, but you're not taking the time to look for it. You're not taking the time to improve your resume. You're not taking the time to apply for different positions. And so that's why you're still there. So what actions do you need to take in order to get to where you are saying that you desire to be? Because the discomfort is temporary. You're going to get to a point, to a place where it's no longer going to be uncomfortable, right? As long as you keep going, keep moving forward, keep trying. Like, even if you get rejected, and I'm gonna tell you, I talk about rejection a lot because it's one of those things that has kept me from getting to where I want to be. Because it's been from childhood. I always had a hard time with rejection. It was hard trying to fit in, hard to make friends. Even on the job, it was like I didn't fit in. And so I found myself constantly trying to fit in, and that wasn't what God desired for me at that point. He still doesn't desire for me to fit in. He created me to be different. And so when I finally embraced that, I recognized that I was actually settling by attempting to blend in. I was settling by attempting to stay in relationship with someone who is physically abusive, staying in relationship with someone who is verbally abusive, staying in relationship with someone who was cheating on me because I didn't want to be alone. Like, those were things that I had to address. And so I want you to understand that where you are is not where you have to remain. You just got some decisions to make. You just got to be willing to ride out the discomfort of the new. But I promise you, if you hang in there, that new experience that you walk into, that new level of happiness, of peace, of abundance, it's going to be worth every bit of trial and error and suffering that you had to endure to get to that point. The suffering is temporary, but as a result of that temporary suffering, you get to step into a lifetime of happiness, a lifetime of reward. So hang in there, do what you gotta do, and don't be afraid to take a chance on you.